The origins of the Russian conflict stem from Ukraine's desire to join NATO, a process that NATO has expanded 5 times eastward over decades. It is noteworthy that President Putin had previously approached 5 U.S. presidents proposing that Russia be included in this expansion, suggesting that mutual integration might have prevented such tensions. The reluctance of the West to fully embrace Russia post-Soviet dissolution despite Putin's diplomatic efforts seems to have contributed significantly to the current scenario. Russia, despite occupying significant Ukrainian territories, now faces severe Western sanctions and economic strain. Meanwhile, Ukraine endures territorial loss, substantial population displacement, and economic decimation, struggling without American financial support. Europe also suffers economically, and the situation exacerbates the U.S. political landscape, with Trump criticizing Democrats for spending on the conflict. An alternative path could have been avoided if the West had been more accommodating to Russia after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Putin offered a solution early in the conflict, arguing that the need to defend itself against NATO's encroachment justified its actions. He repeatedly discussed with U.S. leaders the potential inclusion of Russia in NATO, suggesting that it would have alleviated security concerns and possibly averted the conflict. Despite Putin's diplomatic overtures and Russia's historical inclination towards Western integration, the West's failure to honor previous promises and continued expansion of NATO led to escalating tensions. During Putin's tenure, Russia sought to align closely with the West, as evidenced by his leadership during the post-Soviet era and his personal relationships with Western leaders. Putin's attempts to make Russia part of NATO and his strategic maneuvers, such as the merger with Dmitry Medvedev during the 2008 election, reflect this pursuit of Western acceptance. A Western response was often cold, despite Russia's warm gestures. The question remains, why 3 decades after the collapse of the Soviet Union did the West remain reluctant to fully integrate Russia into its fold? There are several reasons for the Western world's attitude towards Russia, stemming from historical and geopolitical perspectives. First, long been a fundamental disregard from the West for Russia, particularly during the era of capitalist development when Russia was deeply entrenched in its socialist system. During World War I, Russia contributed the most troops but had the weakest combat effectiveness among major powers. Despite the fact that Poland managed to invade and conquer significant portions of Russian territory with ease, it underscores the Western world's lack of respect for Russia. This is compounded by the Western perception of Russia as a formidable landmass and population base, coupled with its historical military prowess, which has led to concerns about potential reversals or dominance. The Western world often perceives Russia as a potential adversary due to its vast territory and population, and fears that its military strength could pose a threat at any moment. Historically, Western nations have frequently needed to construct an enemy to maintain unity, as evidenced by the recent tensions between Russia and Ukraine under President Biden's administration. Trump's era saw a significant strain in relations between the U.S. and its European allies, with the image of 6 against 1 highlighting the potential for a split. If Biden had not taken office, it might have led to the U.S. withdrawing from NATO and Europe forming its own alliance, challenging the established order. Biden's strategy of escalating tensions with Russia and supporting Ukraine has paradoxically strengthened Western solidarity and reinforced American leadership. This dynamic illustrates how external threats can divert attention from internal issues, fostering a shared sense of purpose and unity. In this context, Russia's actions in Ukraine have prompted European countries to align more closely with the U.S., increasing their commitment to defense spending and purchasing U.S. military equipment like the Patriot missile system. For the Western world, having an external enemy serves to enhance internal cohesion and the influence of the dominant power such as the U.S. Without this dynamic, the prospect of integrating Russia into NATO could have resulted in a unified European front without a clear enemy, potentially undermining the existing alliances and power dynamic.